The door burst open at exactly 2:13 a.m. Not gently, not slowly. It slammed against the wall hard enough to shake the frame, hard enough to send a bird scattering from the tree outside into the dark sky. And somewhere inside that house, a phone lit up on a nightstand, one unread message, a name on the screen, and then went dark again. Nobody answered it. Nobody would answer it for a very long time. By morning, one of them was gone. And the strangest part? Every single person inside that house insists they heard something that night. A voice, a splash, footsteps on the porch, but not one of them agrees on what it was. Not one of them tells the same story. And as the days passed and the questions piled up, one thing became very clear. Someone in that group was lying. This is the story of what happened at Clearwater Lake. 5 friends, one weekend, and a disappearance that nobody has been able to explain. Their names were Maya, Daniel, Priya, Cole, and Jade. 5 people who had known each other in various combinations for almost a decade. Maya and Daniel had been together for 2 years. Priya and Maya had been best friends since college. Cole was Daniel's childhood friend, the one who always showed up with too much energy and not enough filter. And Jade was the outsider, at least to most of them. She had only met the group through Cole about 8 months earlier, and the others were still figuring out how to feel about her. It was Maya's 28th birthday. The lake house had been Daniel's idea, a surprise, he called it, something special, something she would remember. And it worked. When Maya pulled up that long, winding driveway and saw the lights strung across the porch, she laughed and covered her mouth and said, "You did not." Daniel just smiled. "Happy birthday." But even in that moment, not everything was right. Priya watched the exchange from the passenger seat with an expression that was hard to read, something between a smile and something else entirely. Cole had gone quiet in the back, which was unusual for him, and Jade stood at the edge of the porch, arms crossed, watching the gravel driveway like she was waiting for something. Later, when people would ask about the trip, most of them would say that the weekend started fine, that everything was normal. But when you press them, when you really press them, small details start to surface, and those details don't add up. For one thing, Priya almost didn't come. She had texted Maya 3 days before the trip, "I don't think I can make it, I have things going on." Maya had called her immediately, and the call lasted 42 minutes. Whatever was said in that conversation, Priya showed up at the meeting point the next morning with her bag packed and a look on her face that said the conversation wasn't over. For another thing, Cole and Jade had argued the night before they left. Nobody knew what about, but a neighbor later recalled hearing raised voices through their apartment wall sometime around midnight, and Cole had shown up to the car the next morning with dark circles under his eyes. And then there was Daniel, quiet, careful Daniel, who had organized the whole thing, who had rented the house, who had planned every detail, who spent the first hour of the drive staring out the window saying almost nothing at all. Not all of them were as close as they seemed. The lake house sat at the end of a gravel road, 40 minutes from the nearest town. No gas station, no corner store, no neighbors within a half-mile in any direction. The kind of place that feels peaceful in the daylight and enormous at night. The trees came right up to the edge of the property, thick and old, and beyond the back porch, about 30 feet down a gentle slope, the lake sat still and black and wide. When they arrived, Cole got out of the car and immediately held up his phone, turning in a slow circle. "No signal," he announced, not unhappily. "We are officially off the grid." "Good, that's the point," Maya said. But Jade didn't laugh. She stood at the edge of the porch looking out at the tree line, and she said quietly, almost to herself, "If anything goes wrong out here, no one would hear us." Cole put his arm around her. "Nothing is going to go wrong." He said it lightly, like a joke, but Jade didn't smile. Inside, the house was beautiful. High ceilings, a stone fireplace, a long wooden dining table. Someone had left a welcome basket on the counter, wine, candles, a handwritten note. The bedrooms were upstairs, 3 of them, and the couple took the largest one facing the lake. By 4 in the afternoon, they had settled in. By 5, the first bottle of wine was open. By 6, the music was on and someone had started cooking. And for just a little while, everything felt exactly like it was supposed to. The first few hours were easy. That's the word people use when they look back on it. Easy. Music humming through a portable speaker on the counter, Cole doing voices and making everyone laugh, Maya dancing in the kitchen in her socks, the smell of garlic and pasta, the warmth of the fire, the way the lake caught the last of the daylight and turned gold at the edges. But underneath it, something was pulling. It started around 9 o'clock. Daniel had been quiet most of the evening, present but not quite there. At some point, Priya refilled her glass and sat down next to him at the table, and they spoke in low voices for several minutes while the others were distracted. Nobody could hear what they said. When Cole glanced over, Priya's expression was serious. Daniel's jaw was tight. Cole looked away. By 10, the mood had shifted, not dramatically, not yet, but something had changed in the air of the room, the way a sky changes before a storm rolls in. Jade said something to Cole in the hallway that nobody else caught. Maya kept checking the time. Priya laughed a little too loudly at something that wasn't funny. And then, at 11:47, the argument started. It began between Daniel and Priya. Later, everyone would give a different version of how it started, but they all agree on one thing. It escalated fast. Voices rising, chairs scraping back from the table, Cole stepping between them with his hands up, saying, Okay, let's just... and Daniel cutting him off. Maya stood by the kitchen counter with her arms wrapped around herself, not saying a word. Jade watched from the doorway. You had no right, Priya said. Her voice was shaking. You had absolutely no right to do that without telling her. This isn't the time, Daniel said. Then when? When is the time, Daniel? I'm asking you to stop. And I'm asking you to be honest with her. Enough. Daniel's voice dropped to something low and hard, and the room went silent. He pushed back from the table, grabbed his jacket from the hook by the door, and walked out into the night. The door slammed behind him. For a moment, nobody spoke. Then Cole exhaled. Okay, he said carefully, looking at Priya. What was that about? Priya looked at Maya. Something passed between them, something unspoken, something heavy. And then Priya shook her head and said, Nothing, it's nothing, I'm sorry. But it wasn't nothing. Everyone in that room knew it wasn't nothing. 40 minutes later, Daniel came back inside. He didn't explain where he'd been. He went upstairs without speaking to anyone, and Maya followed him shortly after, leaving the remaining 3 sitting around the dying fire in uncomfortable silence. Then at exactly 1:55 a.m., the power went out. Not a flicker, a full, sudden blackout. The music cutting off mid-song, the lights dropping all at once, the refrigerator going silent. For a few seconds, the house was completely dark and completely quiet. Cole said, Everyone stay still. He found his phone, turned on the flashlight. The power came back after 4 minutes. Nobody could explain why it went out. The breaker looked fine. The neighbors' houses, the few that were visible through the trees in the distance, had kept their lights on the whole time. And then at 2:13 a.m., the timestamp everyone remembers, the one that would matter later, they heard the scream. It was short, sharp, the kind of sound that cuts straight through sleep, through walls, through the fog of a mind half gone to dreams. All 4 of them, Daniel and Maya upstairs, Priya and Cole downstairs, woke up or sat up at the same moment. Cole later said it came from outside, from the direction of the lake. Priya said it came from upstairs. Daniel said it came from somewhere in the trees. Maya said she wasn't sure it was a scream at all. She said it could have been an animal, a fox, the wind in the eaves. They all heard something. They all heard something different. Nobody went to check. Morning came gray and quiet, the kind of quiet that sits too heavy on a house. Cole was the first down to the kitchen at around 7. He started coffee, looked out the window at the lake, nothing unusual. He set out cups, waited for the machine to finish, called up the stairs that coffee was ready. One by one, they came down. Daniel, Maya, Priya. They waited 15 minutes before someone said it out loud. "Where's Jade?" Cole went upstairs. Her room was empty, bed half made, bag still on the chair, one boot on the floor, and one missing. He came back down and stood in the kitchen doorway with a look on his face that nobody wanted to interpret. She's not up there. They checked the bathrooms, the back porch, the side yard. They called her name, at first with mild concern, then with real urgency, voices getting louder, spreading out across the property. It was Priya who found the phone. It was sitting on a flat rock at the edge of the water, about 20 feet from the dock, screen face down. When she turned it over, the screen was cracked down the middle and dark. Jade's phone case, pale green with a small gold star in the corner, unmistakable. Nobody touched it. They stood there for a long moment, the four of them, looking at that phone beside the black water, and then Cole turned back toward the house and said, "We need to find her, now." They searched for 2 hours. The dock, the tree line, the road back to the main highway. They found nothing. Nothing except a set of muddy footprints at the edge of the property, near the gap in the trees at the north side of the yard. The footprints led into the woods. They did not come back. By the time they reached the nearest town and contacted the authorities, it was almost noon. Police arrived at the lake house by 2 o'clock that afternoon. Investigators arrived shortly after. And then came the questions. Each of them was interviewed separately. Cole said, "She probably just went for a walk. She did that sometimes, needed space when things got tense. She wasn't in the best headspace that night." He paused. "I think she was upset about something, but I don't know what." Priya said, "They were arguing, Jade and Cole, earlier in the evening. I heard them in the hallway. I couldn't make out the words, but it didn't sound good, and she was quiet the whole rest of the night. Something was wrong." Daniel said, "I heard someone go downstairs around 2 a.m. I assumed it was Cole or Priya getting water. I didn't think anything of it." Then he added, after a pause, "The scream we heard, I'm pretty sure it came from the woods, not from inside." And Maya said, "I was asleep. I didn't hear anything until the morning. I'm sorry. I wish I could tell you more." Their stories didn't match. On small things, on big things, the timeline, the argument, the scream, who was awake and who wasn't, and investigators noted it. One of them later said, in a follow-up report, that the accounts provided by the 4 individuals present were, quote, "inconsistent in ways that could not be explained by ordinary variation in memory or perception," unquote. But one of them, just one, wasn't telling the truth. 3 days after the disappearance, investigators made a discovery that changed everything. A traffic camera mounted on a county road approximately 2 miles from the lake house had captured footage from the night in question. The timestamp on the footage read 2:31 a.m., and in that footage a car was visible, moving slowly down the road toward the main highway, headlights off. The plates were run. The car belonged to Daniel. He had said he never left the house that night. He had said he went to bed after the argument and didn't move until morning. He had said clearly and on record that he did not leave, and yet his car appeared on a county road 2 miles away at 2:31 a.m., 18 minutes after a scream that nobody could agree on, and almost the exact moment Jade's phone was sitting on that rock beside the water. When investigators confronted him with the footage, Daniel went quiet for a long moment. His attorney, who had been summoned by then, placed a hand on his arm. So why did he lie? That question has never been answered. Daniel has not provided an explanation for the footage. His account of that night has not changed. He maintains he was inside the house, that his car had not been driven, that the footage must be an error or a misidentification. But cameras do not make that kind of mistake. Jade has not been found. Not a trace. No body, no further evidence, no messages from her phone in the days leading up to the trip that might explain what she was thinking or afraid of. The case remains open. Investigators have not publicly named anyone as a suspect, but they have not closed the file either. 4 people went to that lake house to celebrate a birthday. 1 of them never came home. And 3 of the 4 are still out there somewhere, living their lives, carrying whatever they know about that night. Was it an accident? Did something happen in those dark hours that nobody planned, something that spiraled out of control before anyone could stop it? Was it a cover-up, a story agreed upon in the hours before the police arrived, rehearsed and refined and delivered with straight faces? Or was it something planned, something that had been building long before they ever turned down that gravel road, before the music and the wine and the argument and the lights going out? The footprints went into the woods and didn't come back. The car was on the road at 2:31 a.m. The phone sat beside the water with its cracked screen facing down. And somewhere out there, someone knows exactly what happened at Clearwater Lake. That's where this case stands today. No answers, no closure, just questions that hang in the air like fog over still water. What do you think really happened that night? Drop your theory in the comments. Who do you think is lying? Was it an accident, a cover-up, or something worse? I read every single comment, and I want to hear what you think. And if this is your first time here, welcome. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because we do this every week. Real cases, real questions, no easy answers. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Like this video if it kept you thinking, and we'll see you in the next one.